Happy Monday! Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to this Monday video. I'm just chilling here with this good old, sepulcher. Some beautiful trees around and some lovely Egyptian obelisks and points. Okay. Trust. Do you have the courage to trust? That is what we're talking about today. This is a major thing. This is a major thing right now in life. In life, with everything that is coming up for everyone. Everything that is coming up for everyone, especially through this Venus retrograde that we've just had. Especially with that crow feather. Do you have the courage to trust? And I say courage because it takes courage. It takes courage to open your heart. It takes courage to open your heart, especially after you feel like you've been hurt. It takes courage to choose to trust someone who your ego has convinced you has done something against you, done something to hurt you, where your ego has convinced you that they have broken your trust, betrayed you, hurt you. It takes courage to say to your ego, because it's only ego that sees that. It's only ego that feels that. It's only ego that creates that. It takes immense courage. And this is actually how we dissolve the ego as well. This is how we dissolve the ego. And in this Virgo season where we can get in our mind a lot, we can get in our head a lot, we are in that hermit mode, really. We can be, if we allow ourselves the wisdom of Virgo to come through. What an interesting tree. Can you see this? Looks like a giant, hey? So many beings and fae beings around here. You see, it is easy to distrust. It is easy to cancel someone out of your life. It is easy to move away from someone, to move back from someone, especially if we are in that space of not yet trusting ourselves. It's really interesting because actually in the spiritual world, when we awaken, when we first start going through that awakening process, like we said last week in last week's video, when we first start going through that awakening process, what actually happens is the wounds that have been hidden for so long start to come forward, and they drip feed in, they start to come forward. And it is easy to be a coward. Oh, that's a big word to use, isn't it? It's easy to be a coward in today's world. It's easy to bypass, especially in the spiritual world. We do it all the time. We do it all the time. We bypass all the time. Bypass the healing process. Bypass the mastery of the initiations and the lessons we're being offered. Because that is why we have these initiations with one another. That is why we have these experiences with one another. I'm just going to find somewhere to perch this phone a little bit. There we go. I'm just going to hold it right here. It's beautiful. There's children laughing and playing in the background, which is just wonderful to hear. But this is the thing. Do you have the courage to trust? Do you have the courage to sit in your heart? Do you have the courage to let your heart guide you truly? Because even though many of us often, this is something that we do, this is part of our human blueprint, this is part of our human DNA. What we do as humans is we say that we're coming from the heart, but actually we're not physically located there, right? We say we're coming from the heart, but we're not physically located there. Because what is it to be physically located in the heart? Whomever you're looking upon, you love, regardless as to their expression and who they are. And actually, when you're showing and shining that true, pure love to them, pure love, love without expectation, love without condition, love without want, and love without exchange, when you're just offering this vibration of love, those aspects that you channeled through another of our own shadows that cause the distrust, that cause the betrayal, that cause the hurt or the slander or the whatever it is, those actually don't exist, only in the ego. So do you have the courage? I know that for me, especially through this Venus retrograde, especially with where my natal Venus is and where some of my other placements are, it was challenging for me, this Venus retrograde. There was a lot of things being brought up, and there was a lot of really interesting plays in my personal natal chart, my progress chart, that made it particularly interesting. And that was the question that I kept having to ask myself. Alice, do you have the courage to trust? Do you have the courage to build rather than break? Do you have the courage to ignore and to choose not to see what the ego wants you to see? It was a big one for me in that way. And it was a big one for everyone for the same reason. It's a collective energy as well. But this is how we bridge oneness and unity consciousness. This is how we bridge it together. We bridge it through having courage to trust, even though there's potential to be hurt. That is actually where the greatest strength is. This is actually where the feminine energy comes into play. This is the grace that we speak of, that we want, the unconditional love. This is the mother archetype as well. So what a perfect season, Virgo season, to receive this medicine. Truly, this is the question I kept having to ask myself, especially last month and the month before. I was like, Alice, Alice, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a coward in your feelings? And do you want to bypass the healing? Or do you want to receive the medicine of this initiation? Do you want to receive the medicine of this sacred exchange? Do you want it to be useful for the whole world, because the world resides within ourselves? So do you want it to be helpful and useful for not only yourself, but for everyone that you will come across? Because this is how we make change. We make change by integrating, by finding union within. And that's the question I was asking myself. Alice, do you have the strength and the courage enough to choose to ignore what is seeming reality, seemingly so? Do you want to, can you have the mental discipline? This is my Virgo pre-solar return initiation, one of them. Do you have the mental clarity, the spiritual discipline and practice to choose with conviction to see those that you call family? It's easy to do it with strangers. It's easy to do it with strangers. Not so easy to do it with family, right? Or to those that we call family. Are you going to choose? Are you going to choose love? Are you going to choose no expectation? Are you going to choose no condition? Are you going to choose just to love because that is your nature? That is what I got to experience. And that is what all of us got to experience, really. Not just me, but everyone, because that's how it operates, right? We are a collective as well. And so I pose the question to anyone watching. And it's not for, you don't need to answer to anyone. You definitely don't need to answer to me. You know, this isn't a test or anything like that. This is just me sharing personal experience. When faced with illusion, especially illusion of heart, which is what Leo season brought, especially with the Chiron retrograde and the Venus retrograde and now Mercury retrograde and Pluto and, you know, Saturn, Neptune, you know, all these retrogrades, all the illusion and the betrayal and the inner child and the heart and the, you know, all those themes that these retrogrades were bringing. We all are experiencing this in our own unique way. And we got to ask ourselves so many times over. And so we said it with enough conviction that every cell and every layer of our being really heard it, believed it, so true and true. Because even if we say it with our conscious mind, most of our energy might be imprinted differently. So we experience an initiation. We experience initiation enough times so that we can tell ourselves a new story, re-imprint something new. Is the power of our heart light strong enough to deny the ego, to help it dissolve in love, in order to help the heart grow and expand, to help every cell of the body learn a new story, to help every cell of the body trust, love, and become what we are wishing to create here on earth. It starts with each one of us, and it starts with our responses, and it starts with our perception, and it starts with our hearts. Do you have the courage to trust rather than to bypass it with spirituality, bypass it with boundaries and this and this? Do we have the courage just to feel and just to see that none of the illusion is ever real? No matter how heavy it feels, no matter how strong it is, it's illusion, and that is always the test with every initiation. The challenge, the resistance, the pain is only real because there is resistance in our being. There is two truths within. One that is hidden, showing up from outside, and one that is within, and our higher self trying to guide us in love, in joy, and in hope. Remembering that only pure, graceful, non-expectational, radiant, light love is real. And we'll experience the opposite as long as we need to, until we harmonize every single voice within the collective of your very being. I always enjoy, personally, this is just me personally, I know it's not the general consensus, but I always personally really enjoy Gemini, Cancer and Leo season, even though for me they can be somewhat challenging. I always enjoy them because they're so satisfying. They're so satisfying because I see through the illusion when they arrive, and I know that I just have emotion just waiting to release, so that the clarity of the one true heart can find its center and find its peace. And that's all we need to do. Have the courage to ignore what our brain and our mind and our ego is telling us about another. Ignore it if it doesn't feel good, and choose to see a truth. Create it by your very focus and anchoring of it. This is the mastery. This is the mastery that we will experience the next few years. The invitations for this level of mastery. You get to choose. You get to choose. You get to choose how you want to feel. You get to choose a story and deny apparent reality in order to create something new. As long as you're alchemizing the emotion as it comes up, not bypassing it, as long as you're actually doing the genuine work rather than just talking about it, it will happen. It takes courage. Courage to trust, courage to love. But that is all that there is here on this earth. And it's a reflection really of our love for ourselves and our trust for ourselves. You are strong, you are radiant, you are beautiful, you are whole, you are source, unlimited, eternal. With a stream, that eternal stream of divine love running through you, let that stream continuously flow and nourish. Let yourself flourish. So much love to you on this Monday Musings here in Wimborne, in Dorset. I will see most of you tomorrow, perhaps, on the call that Tim and I are doing, stepping fully into your spiritual service. There is a replay, of course, and we look forward very much to seeing you there. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your service as well. All of us doing this together is what makes the momentum, what builds it up. So thank you, and I'll see you soon. From my heart to yours, so much love.